Are you a sexist?
Well, I don't really know what a sexist is. It's kind of like a non-word to me. I'm a man, and I know that a man is the head of a woman, and that's what the Bible says. So that's not a sexist. That's someone that follows Jesus. Is that what you're asking?
Do you hate women?
Well, the women that I know seem to like me, and I've got compassion and friendship with lots of women. So I'm going to say that no, I don't hate women, because that would be stupid. I'd be like hating cats. So no, I have compassion and I have friendship and love with both men and women. I don't always like some women. I don't always like some men, but that's normal.
One of the questions we've seen was, are you homophobic?
So probably my views are all taken from the Hebrew Bible and the New Testament. So, what I understand is that God says that homosexuality and the entirety of the LGBT lifestyle, that it's an abomination. It's like it's sinful and it's vile. And so when I see God having anger towards people that are living a kind of a lust-driven life, and then they're sharing it with children, and they're spreading it in the community, and they're wanting converts, and they're propagating it. I'm looking to protect the community, protect children from an ideology which is destructive and has proven destructive in generations in the past, just going back to Rome and Greece and other cultures that became increasingly sexualized. Obviously, children have been given sexualized clothes, they're sensual clothes which are drawing sexual attention from a younger and younger age, and so I'm kind of probably a little bit angry about the propagation of the pride ideology and people who propagate it to increase the membership. So I would say that I'm not anything that you could just put a label on it, but if you were going to put a label on it, I'm following the words of Jesus and the words of Jehovah from the Hebrew Bible and from the New Testament. And probably you find that the Islam's in agreement with that, Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons. You'll find that anyone that talks about God knows that the sex with people of the same gender is an abomination to God. And that's what I stand on, the Bible. That's what you're asking.
Can you tell us a little bit about the T-shirt?
Yeah, the T-shirt's really interesting. My friend Tiago from Portugal, who has a list of different trending diagnoses. He photographed a grumpy cat in Crail, and then he turned that grumpy cat's image into one T-shirt, and then he bought it for himself, and then he gave it to me as a gift. So this is actually like in honour of my friend Tiago, who managed to find a grumpy cat in Crail. And I suppose it's very funny because that cat probably isn't very happy now its image has been spread around the internet, particularly linked with Nicola Sturgeon's sexual exploits.
So taking away the fact that Nicola is a woman, what makes her actually a bad leader?
Well, I don't see anything about her ideology, about what she believes in, that makes her a good leader. So pushing to break up the union, that doesn't. To me, that's not going to be good for this country financially. It's not going to be good from the point of view of working together with brothers and sisters in the rest of the country. We're talking about. Is Nicola Sturgeon? Does she hate the English? Is she carrying that sectarianism which a lot of Scots carry, where they blame England for all the woes of Scotland? Because that's something that her desire to break up the union. That might be what's behind that. She's carrying a kind of a historic hatred of the English. And so maybe this whole thing about am I homophobic, am I sexist? My question would be, it looks to me as if part of the way Nicola Sturgeon's, the way that she communicates, she actually wants to spread sectarianism and a hatred of the English and blame them. So I probably am not for that. And so I think that in itself, along with her enormous support of ungodly practice, like the Pride movement, makes her clearly a bad leader. And on top of that, God said in Timothy that the women are not to have authority over men, are not to be leaders over men or over nations. He said that very clearly. And I think my opinion is that God said that what she's doing is ungodly, and so that makes her not just a bad leader, but dangerous. And you can see by the suicide rate alone, the mental health, drug addiction, unemployment, that the brokenness of our country. I think that I'm not going to blame one person, because obviously the outgoing leader, Salmond, she was quite happy to hand him over for all these sexual charges that he got. So clearly he was sexually immoral. And what I hear on the streets and from her party is that she also secretly is sexually immoral. And I think that's true. I believe that is true. And so I think that it's in her family as well. I think I think there's been problems in her own family, even during that code, where she wasn't following her own rules. And a leader that doesn't follow their own rules, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. We've all got to put masks on, but she'll go into pubs and she'll not have a mask on. Just, to me, it's hypocrisy. So a bad leader, probably, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So a lot of people are commenting saying that your views were very old-fashioned. What have you got a comment for that one?
Well, again, probably quite a boring response. If my views are based in the Hebrew Bible, which is like 4,000 or 5,000 years old, and also based in the New Testament, which is 2,000 years old, and I'm taking my views from an eternal, uncreated God, then the views are going to be eternal views. They're not old-fashioned. They're perfect and kind of trustworthy views. I'm not really into trendy, fashionable views, because next thing I'm wearing a skirt and a fake bra, and I'm walking about, and people think I'm cool and trendy. And I'm not going to do that. I mean, I see too many 6'5" men walking about the streets wearing skirts and bras and women's underwear and lipstick, and they look ludicrous. And everyone laughs when they go past, because it is ludicrous, And so that's, to me, is a ridiculous situation, and that's not old-fashioned. It's hilarious. A lot of people think I'm very funny. I tell a lot of jokes. And so they're not old jokes. They're just kind of like, they're funny, and I lift people up. But I think I can't but shout, "That's a man," especially when they're hoping they'll pass off as. And I wouldn't want to end up waking up with a man, I wouldn't want that. That would go against my faith in Jesus. Yeah, that's it again.
So a lot of people have a misunderstanding of who you are and what you do. Can you tell us about what you do for the actual city?
Right, okay, so I'm 55. I live on about £6,000 or £7,000 a year. I have an unregistered charity called Jesus Dogs, which is a play on the word dogs, where it's Scottish for dogs is a word. I have a white Siberian Husky that I lend and use to help the drug death, alcohol death crisis we have in Dundee. And so I've been doing that with the dog for 5 years. I've been working with heroin addicts on the street since 2007, where I've just been sitting with people that are begging for money for heroin, and I've been making friends with them, going for some food, giving them some free counsel, some friendship, and with a view towards blessing them with good company. And I've been doing that for a long time. And then yesterday I was in Glasgow all day, and I was holding a big placard with some verses from the Bible, and I was engaging with loads of people with mental health problems, confusion, brokenness, old people, young people, and I was chatting. I must have chatted with 60 or 70 people. A lot of them spoke to the dog, but many of them spoke to me. I prayed for some of them, particularly people who are tormented. That's one of the things that I'm most concerned about, is young people that are tormented, cutting themselves, self-harm, suicide, voice hearers. I trained as a counsellor for many years, and I worked as a counsellor for the Hearing Voices network, and I went to Australia. I was training in Australia on ways to turn voice hearing into something useful that could help other people. So I'm really about engaging with everyone, compassion for everyone, with a view towards people's lives improving. Doesn't matter who they are. And if a person comes to me and they've got confusion about their sexuality, I'll chat about that. I will not run them down. I'll understand them. I might not agree with what they do. I don't agree with people robbing each other and selling heroin, but I've got a lot of friends that do that, and I like them, but I don't like what they do to themselves and the community. So that's roughly what I do in a kind of a nutshell. Yeah.